Spider-Man as a whole, like he's one of my favorite superheroes, isn't it? Because it's just like he's fun. He doesn't take it too seriously. Number one, and number two, he's just out here like, how can I help? I've got these special powers. Like, how can I help you? He's not trying to cause trouble. He's not out here trying to do like outlandish things. He's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's just like, how can I be helpful to people? And it's like, I always see it from the lens of like, if we were all so deeply in touch with our gifts and what we can offer to the world and society, and we just move through the world of like, how can I help with these gifts? The worlds that we live in is going to look different. The communities we live in, the society we live in is going to look totally different. And Spider-Man's a sick version of that, because he's just like, yeah, like I got powers they were given to me from this spider that bit me. Right? What can I use them for force for good? How can I help people with it? You know, how can I be of service in the world? You know, and it's not like he's out here. He could easily be charging people money. Oh, you want to go and like capture Doc Ock? All right, pay me £1 million. I can capture him for you. He's like, no, I'm gonna go do it anyway.
It's a great example of creating versus being in victimhood. So he could be bitten by this spider and say, oh, I'm in school, I've got all these crazy like things happening to me. You know, he tries to explain it to someone. They're like, oh, you're just going through puberty. And he's like, I'm like 17.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Puberty, bro. That was a while ago. And instead, it's more like, he doesn't... It's a challenge, and he wants to create with it rather than it being a victimhood thing. And it was really funny to me how, like, you know, if you put other people in his shoes, they could find 1,000,001 reasons not to go out and chase criminals or anything. And he's just like, yeah, cool, I got Peter Parker stuff going on in my private life, and I got Spider-Man stuff going on this side. And he's choosing to have both of them. He wants to have a girlfriend, he wants to look after his aunt, and on the other side, he wants to do good for humanity. And it's kind of like us being business owners. You know, like we got our family lives, our private lives, stuff going on with our relationships, and we got people that we're wanting to help in the world. And I love that Spider-Man's showing us that there's a way of, if you're being the same person, like Spider-Man is Peter Parker, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. If you're being the same person all the time, the two overlap so much that you're not being any different. Yeah. And who you are in your business and in your relationships is, if there's a big difference between both of them, if in your private life and your public life there's a big difference, you're gonna get exhausted. Look at Kingpin. He's tired of everyone's shit. That's why he's pissed off all the time. Yeah. If you look at any of these villains, they're not the most energetic people. They're like, their lives are a mess. Yeah. Yeah. And the flip side to that though, with Spidey, like Peter Parker Spidey, it's like he does that, and he also lives in the realm of like, I have to keep these two identities separate. You know, no one knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and no one knows Spider-Man's Peter Parker. He keeps them so separate that it actually causes him conflict as well. Like, he messes up his relationships. Like, the Mary Jane relationship is always like, you know, fumbling away from him. Aunt May's always worried about him because he's like disappearing and he's getting himself in trouble, and you know, his schoolmates are worried about him, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that happens in his life where people are like, his life as Peter Parker is getting messed up because he's being Spider-Man, and because he's got like a divide in the way that he's living the two sides of his life. And it's like, you know, again, if we're, to what you were saying, if we're being different in our personal lives to how we are in business, say we've got like, oh, I'm going to put my business mask on today and I'm going to be all like good and merry and peaceful and happy and yeah, whatever, and then you go home and you're just a miserable fuck. Like, there's so much inauthenticity there, and I think like that's one thing that I do see in Spider-Man is like, he's showing us what happens like when you are being inauthentic, when you're trying to put on a different outfit, you know, a different show, a different performance in one area of your life versus a different area of your life. Like, it can massively mess you up because you're constantly trying to cross a divide of like, oh, am I being Peter Parker or am I being Spider-Man, or am I being Spider-Man or am I being Peter Parker? And I think like, we were talking about earlier, like, you know, when you go through life and you're just like, I'm going to put my coaching, you know, I'm going to go into coach mode now. It's exhausting because it's something you have to turn on or turn off.
And people, you see it all the time. People turn on, you know, okay, I need to be social now, and then I need to turn off my social. Like, you hear people say things like, oh, my social battery's running low today, or, you know, my energy's running low because I've, you know, put so much effort into this thing over here, and when now I have to put effort into this thing, I haven't got the thing. And it all comes down to this. There's like a divide in life. And I had it for a long time, man. Like, I was, you know, showing up on like a night out, trying to make out like everything was cool, I'm happy, like, yeah, one of the lads. And then I'd go home and I'd be fucking miserable and just like think like, what's the fucking point of all this, you know? And it's the similar thing there. It's like it does start to ruin parts of your life. Whereas when you start to, like, you know, erase the line between the two, you know, the two different yous, and it just becomes one, there's a blurred line, you show up way more authentically.
The master of the art of living makes no distinction between work and play. Their labor and their love, their religion and their lifestyle. To them, they're always doing both, and they'll let other people decide which one they're doing. And I love that, man. I think, like, there's nothing that brings me more joy than knowing that all I gotta do is just express myself every day. And the more in alignment with that authentic self-expression I can bring myself, the more ease I'll experience in all areas of my life. Like, I don't have to be a different person with my mom and with my mates. There's certain jokes I won't say in front of my mom, but that's not me being a different person. I said this to someone recently. I was like, hey, any of the jokes that you've told me, could I tell my mom?
You see who that is? It's your mom!
And he started laughing. He was like, I wouldn't. I'm like, yeah, I know. Can you change up the jokes a little bit? It's like, there's really the humor that we're messing with these days. And it was really fun. It was like really stupid jokes I was telling. But I love that way of living, just in total alignment with, I don't need to be any different. And all across the board, anyone I speak with, I don't have to put an act on or a mask or any of this shit. I can just be. Being me is the biggest joy that I can ever have. And I was saying this to one of my mates, like, what we do for a living is we're putting people in touch with, like, how they can be themselves again. And I don't know if there's anything more beautiful than that.
That's it, man. And it's like the more deeply in touch you are with it, the more, like, authentically you can show up in life. You know, otherwise people are being, like, out of integrity, you know, like, with themselves. That's where it starts. You know, like, even in the Marvel, the MCU movies, like, look at the last movie, No Way Home. The whole thing's like, what was his name? Mysterio announced to the world, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and, like, his life's turned upside down. And the whole point of the film is he's trying to, like, oh, Doctor Strange, can you make everyone forget that I'm Spider-Man? Like, I don't want anyone to know. Look at the mess it causes. You get villains from alternate universes coming in to try and hunt you down. And it's a big mess. You get other Spider-Mans getting pulled into the, like, it turns into, like, this big kerfuffle because he's, like, too busy trying to, like...
He's obsessed with what people think.
Yeah.